Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Giri Gopi Janavallabha Giri Yasodanandana Rajajanandana Jamuna Tira Yamuna Tira Hare Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Hare Rama Rama Hare Hare Nitai Gaur Nitai Gaur Hari Bhom Hari Bhom Hari Bhom Nitai Gaur Hari Bhom Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Jaya Jaya Prabhupada 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 Jaya Prabhupada Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Srimad-Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 31, The Movements of the Living Entities. This is text number 36. This whole series of verses from 31 to 41 is on the same topic. So here, Prajapati Swam Duhitaram Prajapati Swam Duhitaram Tvistata Rupadarshitaha Rohit Bhutam Sodvadavad Riksha Rupi Hatha Trapaha Prajapati Swam Duhitaram Drishyata Rupa Darshitaha Rohit Bhutam Sodvadvavar Riksarupi Hatha Tapaha Prajapati Swam Duhitaram Trisvata Rupa Darsitaha Rohi Bhutam Sovadavan Riksharupi Hata Trapaha.
Prajapati Swamduhitaram Drishtva Vidbhutam Sunvadavan Aksharupi Hata Trapaha
Prajapati Swamduhitaram
Prajapati Samduhitaram Vishvatadrupadharshitaha Rohit Bhutang Sonvadhavan Vriksharupi Hatatrapaha.
Ladies. Anyone else? Prajapati, Lord Brahma, Swam, his own, Duhitaram, daughter, Drisva, having seen, Ta Rupa, by her charms, Darshitaha, bewildered, Rohi Bhutam, to her in the form of a deer, Sa, he, Anvadavat, ran, Riksharupi, in the form of a stag, Hata, bereft of, Trapaha, shame. Translation. At the sight of his own daughter, Brahma was bewildered by her charms and shamelessly ran up to her in the form of a stag when she took the form of a hind. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Brahma's being captivated by the charms of his daughter and Lord Shiva being captivated by Mohiti form of the Lord are specific instances which instruct us that even great demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva, what to speak of ordinary conditioned souls, are captivated by the beauty of a woman. Therefore, everyone is advised that one should not freely mix with one's daughter or with one's mother or with one's sister, because the senses are so strong that when one becomes infatuated, the senses do not consider the relationship of daughter, mother, or sister. It is best, therefore, to practice controlling the senses by performing bhakti yoga, engaging in the service of Madan Mohan. Lord Krishna's name is Madan Mohan, for he can subdue the god Cupid or lust. Only by engaging in the service of Madan Mohan can one curb the dictates of Madan Cupid. Otherwise, attempts to control the senses will fail. Om Agyan Timidandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksu Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimakti Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pacharine Nirvisesa Sunyavari Pasyatya De Satarine Panchakalpa Tarubhischa Kripa Sindhu Paevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaho Namaha. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasati Gaura Bhakta-vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada would say, Brahma, he's okay. We shouldn't find fault with him. But he's demonstrating here how even such great personalities as himself, and Prabhupada includes even other demigods, and such as the Mahadev. Mahadev is Shiva. Mahadev means he's the best of all demigods. He also gets captivated, but his captivation, of course, was by Mohini Murti, who was Krishna in the form of a very, what we say, voluptuous lady, a very attractive lady, that bewildered Lord Shiva so much that he completely lost all his dhira. He's known for being dhira. That means undisturbed by difficulties, happiness and distress, or attraction and repulsion. But we see here, this example is that these great souls are also instructing us through their own pastimes how this attraction for the opposite sex sometimes loses all sense of intelligence. How this intelligence, or even the understanding of the results of such activities, are lost, and when one becomes infatuated by the beauty of the opposite sex. And the word woman here, we have to understand that it's not just one-sided. The Bhagavatam explains that the word woman, for man, woman is woman, and for woman, man is woman. So when they use the word woman in the Bhagavatam, it really refers to the opposite sex. But of course, the female sex is the fair sex and is the most attractive sex. Therefore, you see, in this material world, everything centers around that. Advertising, endeavors for success in various enterprises are all successful, or not successful, all motivated by this desire to achieve this desire to fulfill this lusty desire. So where does this come from? Where does this desire of the opposite sex come, or the attraction? Prabhupada said it's natural. You don't have to learn it. You don't have to read books about it. It happens automatically. Because it's also known as the adiras. It's that principle by which Krishna is also attracted to the opposite sex, but that type of attraction is not the same as the attraction that we have. That attraction is pure spiritual love. But still, there is female and male forms in the spiritual world, and they interact in loving ways. So, what's above is also below. But in the below, the inebrities, or the difficulties and the diversions away from the goal of life, are presented in the form of the attraction to the opposite sex. But back to that same point, that this adiras is the original loving relationship that the soul has for the Supreme Personality of Godhead. When that love gets filtered through the senses and the mind and becomes diverted towards the opposite sex in this world, it is considered to be what we say, not love, but lust. So that same love, or that power of love that we have for Krishna, is being turned towards something in this material world. And that's why the attraction to the opposite sex is apparently so natural and also so very powerful. So, but here, Prabhupada goes on to explain that the discrimination in that attraction doesn't even manifest, because a person can be in the association of one's daughter, one's sister, one's mother, and still feel this attraction in a, what we say, a physical way. That was so very strong. So how to get beyond that, or how to get over that, Prabhupada also gives the formula. One has to become attracted to Krishna. But not just slightly, not just in what we say incidentally or just a little. One has to get fully attracted to the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada mentions it, that if you meditate on the eyebrows of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, you can overcome this attraction to the opposite sex. This is also one of the formulas for getting that. But people like that attraction. They don't even fight that attraction, and they think that attraction will be beneficial, but it can lead to so many difficulties. And that those difficulties will eventually bring the soul into various types of calamities in life. So, but what are those calamities? That the entanglement of the material energy becomes so strong when one gets entangled with the opposite sex in the mood of enjoyment. In the mood of enjoyment. The material world is called Maitunya Agra. Agra means means shackles or bondage, and Maitunya refers to sex life. So, giving a description of this place, it's considered to be the shackles of sex life. And one who can break that attraction by becoming attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead can free themselves from all material suffering and all material difficulties. It says that even those who don't perform devotional service, if they remain celibate through austerities and penances and other forms of spiritual practice, not even devotional service, they can attain to Satyaloka or Brahmaloka. So that power of restricting the sex life desire brings one to a high level even within the material realm of existence. But for devotees, it is about developing our relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So one has to hear about, glorify, and remember the Supreme Personality of Godhead continuously and develop an attraction to the Lord through that process of hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord. Then gradually one can overcome the tendency of sex life. But the desire for sex life has two aspects to it. One is gross and one is subtle. The gross we know, not engaging in sex life or the activities that lead to sex life. But the subtle aspect, which is profit, adoration, distinction, wanting to be known as an advanced devotee, want to be known, using one's position to control. In other words, the more subtle aspects of this same physical aspect comes in the form of these subtle desires for personal aggrandizement, in the form of worship, form of position, a form of power, those who desire these things, these are also subtle forms of sex life. And if that is not cut off, then the gross forms can also re-manifest, although one may have given up these gross forms of sex life, the gross activities of sex life. If the subtle is not somehow or other eventually annihilated or eliminated, just like the example is given, that if you have some weeds and they're growing out of the ground, if you cut the weed at the ground level, then you get rid of what you see, but still the root is still there. And because the root is still there, it will grow back. So therefore, devotees have to be very diligent in understanding that not only is it about the physical attraction, but it's also about these subtle aspects that come by way of advancement in devotional service. They can also come simply by making it. Therefore, in the Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, it says that one should uproot all of these subtle aspects through the process of Harinam Sankirtan. And this is where the power one can gain through the chanting of the holy name, especially Harinam Sankirtans. It destroys all of the anarthas. But here, Prabhupada gives an added understanding. He says, one has to pray. One has to pray not only, but he mentions not only Krishna, but he says Madan Mohan. Krishna is the Madan, and he is the attractor of, he is the attractor of Cupid. So Cupid is attracting everyone with its arrows of lust. But Krishna can attract Cupid away from. Therefore, if we get attracted to Krishna, we can also get free from the attraction of the lusty arrows of Madan, which are everywhere, especially in New York City. It's like advertised, and not only advertised, it's ceremonially advertised in the sun. So it's so much strong in terms of the advertising, the billboards, the way people dress. And it's just everywhere. But a devotee who has made some advancement in devotional service will see that this is simply Maya's dance, that's all. Because they're not attracted to that, because they're attracted to Krishna. There's no other way. People in the material world also try to get free from this desire, but they don't get attracted to the supreme attractive person, and therefore their attempts will always fail. We have the example of Subari Muni. Subari Muni was a great Muni, and he used to meditate underwater. He was a very powerful Muni. He had performed austerities and penances, and he could meditate underwater. But simply by seeing two fish engaging in sex life, he became attracted. And all of a sudden, he no longer kept up with his austerities. He left that and decided to take up household life. And he married 50 ladies. Not just one, but 50. Because his lusty desires were so full-blown. So what does that say? That unless one engages in devotional service, all other forms of austerities, penances, and all other activities do not free one from that attraction. We have the example of Vishwamitra Muni, powerful Muni, really powerful. And so he wanted to actually, he was defeated by Vishishta Muni. Vishishta Muni was a Brahmana. It's a long story. But he was defeated by Vishishta Muni, and Vishwamitra Muni was a Kshatriya. So Vishwamitra Muni could understand Brahma Tejas, or the power of Brahminical personalities, are greater than Kshatriya power. And so he wanted to become a Brahmana. So he decided to meditate to achieve that consciousness. So he performed severe meditations. He sat down in the middle of summer, during the hottest part of the summer, with all of the sun blazing in the sky, and he was meditating. It said he put himself in the middle of fires all around him, and he was meditating in the summertime, just to develop a sense of tolerance from the difficulties of the heat. And then in the wintertime, he would immerse himself in ice cold water up to his neck and also engage in meditation. His austerities were so strong. And then what happened was Indra was thinking, he's going to try for my position. Because the demigods, they know that if people perform austerities and penances in the proper way, they can elevate themselves to the position of devas. And the devas, sometimes, especially we see Indra gets a little bit concerned that someone's going to take his post. So he sends one of the best of all society girls, Menaka, and she comes. Of course, she's very attractive, and she has ankle bells that tinkle so sweetly. And there he is in his meditation. All of a sudden, this beautiful woman appears, sweetly moving and tinkling of her ankle bells, and his mind became attracted. And as soon as his mind became attracted, it broke his meditation, and then he decided, well, I think I'll move into household life. So he married her. That's a famous story. It's all over India. It's called The Birth of Sakuntala. She's also mentioned in the Bhagavatam. And he had this beautiful daughter, very highly qualified daughter named Sakuntala. Her life is very interesting also. And then after some time, he started to become unhappy with himself. I was a powerful yogi, now look at me. So he went back to his austerities and penances and started to meditate again. And this time he was determined not to fall down. He knew the demigods may also try to bring him down from his austerities. And so he was again absorbed. And then Ramba, another society girl, she came, and same way, very attractive, tickling of the ankle bells, many very voluptuous poses. And he again, this time he became angry. Rather than being attracted, he became so angry, and by the power of his meditation, he was able to bring up the fire out of the third eye, and he burnt her to ashes. And she was like, burnt pakora, finished. And he, as soon as that happened, he fell down again. Because there's the other side of attraction is aversion. So aversion is what we say suggested and necessary as one begins devotional service, to learn a sense of aversion towards the attraction of the material energy. But if one keeps that consciousness of aversion all the way through and doesn't come to this platform of spiritual consciousness, which is free from attraction and aversion, then again one can also again become attracted, because aversion and attraction are two sides of the same coin. So we see that in the example of Vishwamitra Muni. So this, the power of the opposite sex that attracts the minds and attention of the conditioned souls, and even those engaged in devotional service, is very powerful. That's why Srila Prabhupada doesn't give any less formula. He says you have to get attracted to Krishna. That's the only solution. Otherwise, that attraction is there either in subtle form or in gross form. And if it's there in subtle form, it can also manifest, again, in gross form. But the devotees in the Krishna conscious movement have come up with so many ideas how to develop a certain mindset not to get attracted. Like it says in the Bhagavatam that what is the body made out of? Blood, pus, urine, stool, bone, marrow, mucus, and various other types of secretions that are not so fragrant. And it's covered with this layer called skin. So it's the skin that is the attraction part. Underneath, you're not attracted to any of that stuff. But it's the skin. But then, if you take a microscope and you look at the skin, you will see that there's these little worms that are in the skin. They're microscopic worms. You can't see them because they're there to keep the freshness of the skin. They're there by God's arrangement, or by material arrangement, you say. So when you actually see the outer covering the way it is, then you realize the inner cover and the outer covering are not much difference, actually. So, of course, these things are nice meditations for those who are, trying to overcome these attractions like that. There was one devotee, I remember, when he would say, "When I see the opposite sex, all I see is a skeleton." But now he got married. Okay. I guess it was a beautiful skeleton, I don't know. So there is no formula in the mind that one can meditate on other than by becoming attracted to the Supreme Personality. And Krishna is so beautiful. We hear the example that's mentioned also here in the purport, how Lord Shiva, when Krishna manifested that form of Mohini Murti to bewilder the demons so the demigods could get the nectar, Shiva heard about that, and he wanted to see that form that was so attractive. And Krishna said, "Are you sure? Are you really sure you want to see that form?" And he was determined. So Krishna said, "All right." And then he manifested a similar form, which was not exactly the same, but it was also Mohini Murti. And when Shiva saw that, he, became somewhat attracted and bewildered, and then he, or Krishna, in the form of a beautiful woman, started to run and play with a ball, and he started to follow her. And he was watching, and then she was exhibiting various postures and exposing different parts of her body. And Shiva was becoming more and more attracted. Finally, he became so lusty in his attraction that he went to grab her. And as soon as that, and then there was discharge. As soon as that happened, then he came to his senses. And while that was happening, it's interesting, he was running after her, and there was a whole group of Shivites who were meditating on Shiva while it was happening. And there's their worshipful deity chasing after a beautiful girl while they're meditating on him. So it was an interesting pastime. So there was one other point that I wanted to make in this particular pastime. Oh yeah, I remember I was in Chowpatty in Mumbai, and I was giving a class, and one devotee asked, "Can we, worship the Krishna in the form of Mohini Murti?" Hare Krishna. So I said there wouldn't be too many brahmacharis left. So I said you'd have to present that one to the GBC and see what they say, because I don't think that would be a very acceptable form of worship. So yeah, so this is, it was a brahmachari that asked the question too. So yeah, this attraction is so powerful, and this whole section here from verse 31 all the way up to verse 41 gives many explanations how that manifests in different ways. So it's very powerful and very much everywhere. So to stay fixed in Krishna consciousness and not to be bewildered. I remember one devotee was telling me, he was a spiritual master. He said one of his disciples, he got a call from his ex-girlfriend. He was a brahmachari. And she wanted to meet him. So he thought, why not? So she came in the evening, and she was with him, and he was there, and the whole night, and then the next morning. And then he came back and said to his spiritual master, I succeeded. I didn't fall down. His brahmachari said, his guru said, you fool, you fell down in the mind 100 times. So falling down in the mind is also can lead ultimately to a complete fall down. So we have to even come to that platform of not even dwelling on such things. As soon as these thoughts come to the mind or these attractions, immediately think of Krishna. Immediately think of Madan Mohan. Immediately chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, and then one can purify their consciousness and rise above all of these attractions. Some of us like these attractions. That's the problem. The thing is, one should get attracted to Krishna. And that is the actual goal of Krishna consciousness, is develop our attraction to Krishna. And Krishna has all attractive qualities. So the more we hear about it, the more we chant about him, the more we remember, the more we practice our attractions to Krishna in different manifestations, then the more we develop that attraction. And Krishna reveals himself more and more. We're looking at the deity, and we're seeing how beautiful the deity is. We can't really see, well, maybe some of you can, but I can't. We can't really see how attractive Krishna is in that deity form. The more premanjaritam bhakti vilochanena santas sadaiva hridayeshu vilokayanti yam shama sundara chinta guna sarupam govindam adipurusham tamaham bhajami. When you have love for Krishna, then when you see the beautiful form of the Lord, then you can actually see Krishna, at least to some degree, in his complete form of attractive. And out of all of his qualities, he's all strength, he's all knowledge, he's all fame, he's also all renunciation, he's all, what's the other one? Beauty, of course, and one more. Which one did I leave out? Knowledge. Yeah. He has he's called Bhagavan because he's full of these 6 qualities. Devotees mostly like his beautiful form. That attracts the devotees even more and more. Krishna is so attractive that he even attracts himself. There's one story when he was in Dwarka. He was walking past one of the reflective pillars. The pillars in Dwarkadam were reflective. They were like mirrors. So when he walked past, and then he said, wow, who's that beautiful person? And he went back, oh, that's me. So God is so attractive that he even attracts himself. And then he becomes Lord Chaitanya, who is Krishna himself in the mood of Radharani, who was completely attracted to him in pure love. And so he becomes attracted to himself in her mood of worshiping himself. And he becomes attracted to himself. This is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So, yeah. Okay, so these are some principles that we can think about in terms of how to become what we say dhira. Dhira means not to become disturbed by happiness and distress. And that's the process of purification. But it can only be fully manifested or successful, and when we develop at least our attraction to Krishna in such a way that when we see everything else in this world, We simply see it's simply as the energy of Krishna, that's all. That's all. We don't see it as a form of attraction or aversion. We see it's just there. It is there for a purpose, to be engaged in Krishna's service. It's not a form to get. It's not an opportunity to enjoy or not an opportunity to renounce. It's an opportunity to serve. The devotee sees everything in relationship to service. And Lord Chaitanya finally gives the formula, Nadanam, Najanam, Nasundarim, Kavitam Jagadisha Kamayi. I don't want wealth. I don't want followers. I don't want the pleasures of the opposite sex. What do I want? I simply want your devotional service. Janmani, Janmani, Ishwara, life after life after life. Lord Chaitanya is giving us the formula how to pray in the process of bhakti. But we have to be very strict in the execution of our sadhana. Sadhana is the foundation by which one gets the spiritual shakti or strength to overcome the attractions of the material energy, which are so many, especially in this age of Kali. When one sees himself become attracted to something in this material world that is not in relationship to Krishna, then one should immediately turn away to that and then think of Krishna. If you do that, I remember I started my Krishna consciousness here in New York in 1973. And I was coming to the Brooklyn Temple, but that was on Henry Street at the time. And I had a Bhakta leader. His name was Bhakti Vinod. He's still here somewhere. And he used to tell me, and he was my Bhakta leader, he would say, "Kill that thought, or it'll kill you." Whoa, okay. I was thinking, what am I getting into here? So he would, he was like that, and I really liked that because I was thinking, because he would always kind of watch us and see how we were doing, and we were kind of spaced out and thinking, and he knew we weren't actually there in the service. He would always give us some heavy, and it was nice. I liked it. After a while, initially it was a little hard to get used to, but. So kill that thought and it'll kill you. So that's the point. That's the main thing. Make sure that the mind is always directed towards the lotus feet of the Lord in devotional service. And we can do that if we practice and we have strong sadhana. Sadhana is the basis of the foundation by which we build to strengthen our Krishna consciousness. Strong sadhana, Prabhupada said, not 16 rounds, but 16 good rounds. He used that word good. He spoke that to Abhiram Prabhu. And that was later on distributed around the movement. Prabhupada saying we have to chant 16 good rounds. So that means one has to try to qualitize one's Krishna conscious activities in such a way that it brings about realization or brings about freedom from attraction to this material world and attraction to the process of devotional service. Okay, so any questions, comments? Yes. Yes, Ekadasi? Okay, got it, thank you. Do we have a microphone? Yeah. Okay.
Hare Krishna, Maharaja. Thank you for the nice one. I'm wondering how to turn as you were saying, turn away from the material attraction. How to make it so that it's not repression.
Well, the repression, or the initial reaction to that, is to dismiss it or push it out. But then, to think of Krishna. Immediately think of Krishna in his transcendental form. One of the reasons why we take darshan of the deity is to take that image with us throughout the day. We take very nice darshan of Shri Sri Radha Govinda. We make a mental snapshot, and then throughout the day we can also remember the Lord in that same form. So that will help us to, overcome this attraction in a repressive way. You're bringing it to something wonderful. We can't give up the principle of attraction. It's not possible, because that's the nature of the soul, is to be attracted, but in the right way, and that is to the Lord and to the process of bhakti. Does that help? Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Any other comments and questions? Everyone's afraid to talk about this, right? Prabhupada said something. He said, if you don't discuss this daily, he said, our society will become weak. Because we internalize these thoughts, and then they come back to us in different ways. When you speak about it, you discuss it, you get an understanding, that helps you free yourself from these negative thoughts. Yeah. He said, talk about it daily, not just occasionally. Yes.
I have a question about in terms of service.
There's a little extra bass in your voice there. I can't. Maybe pull it down a little bit. A little bit. Yeah.
Could we look at marriage potentially as also a service?
Marriage, you said?
Yes, marriage is service. In the sense that yesterday one should put up the fact that for Prabhupada's recommendation for women must get married and for men to stay single.
Well, Prabhupada said that in a very humorous way. He was talking to his devotees. He said, and all the women should be married and all the men should stay brahmachari. Hare Krishna. And then he looked at the organizers and he said, it's up to the managers to figure out how to do that. But what he was saying, and this is my purport to that, Prabhupada was saying women do better in their practice of Krishna consciousness in that ashram, and men do better in Krishna consciousness in brahmachari ashram, if they follow brahmachari. That's what Prabhupada was basically saying. He was saying like that. So he wasn't making some joke. There was a meaning to what he was saying. Prabhupada spoke so many times about, if you can do without it, then the path of bhakti becomes easier to traverse. But he says sex desire is like an itch. And an itch can be very disturbing. And therefore, when you get an itch, you scratch it. But if you scratch an itch, what happens is that the feeling of the itchiness goes away, but then when it comes back even stronger. So you just have to tolerate it, that's all. And so tolerance is the way to get over this attraction. And, of course, devoting our attention towards Krishna. So what is your question?
Marriage can be viewed as a service.
Yeah, it's one of the ashrams. Yeah. It's one of the ashrams. And ashram means place of spiritual cultivation. So you can practice Krishna consciousness in one of the 4 ashrams, basically in our society, 3 ashrams, brahmachari, and for women, brahmacharini, grihastha, married life, family life, and sannyas. So ashram is recommended. Everyone has to be engaged in their service in a particular ashram. Yeah. and we're designated that way, and you follow the rules and regulations of the ashram, you make progress in devotional service. Yeah. So there's nothing against Grihastha ashram, but if you can avoid it, then it's better. But if you can't, then get married, be a nice Grihastha, follow the principles, and live by, by the instructions given by the spiritual master. And you can also make progress towards the goal of life and go back home, back to Godhead. Some people are more suited for Grihastha ashram, and others are more suited for the, staying free from that ashram. There's where you need advice from your spiritual master or someone on the level who can help you understand how best you can situate yourself. We have the example of, in the scriptures of, what was that elephant's name? Gajendra. Gajendra was, he was living in the heavenly realm. He was an elephant. He was surrounded by a lot of lady elephants. He was quite popular. And he went bathing in the river, but then a crocodile came and grabbed his leg, and then there was a big fight. Now, the crocodile was gaining strength during the fight, and the elephant was losing strength. And Prabhupada explains that the elephant was outside of its element, the water, and the crocodile was in its element, the water. So therefore Prabhupada said one should learn how to fight Maya in that ashram which is conducive to your practice of Krishna consciousness. That's the example of that particular pastime. That, where can you fight Maya the best? Or where can you overcome the effects of Maya the best? As a brahmachari or as a grihastha? And there you need some guidance, practical guidance from your spiritual teachers to help you understand. And going into grihastha ashram is not a way to somehow or other, I can't make it in brahmachari ashram, so I'll make it in grihastha ashram. No, that's not the right mentality. One requires training both in each of the ashrams like that. So therefore, some devotees are more suited for one ashram and some are more suited for another ashram. But Prabhupada's program is to get training in the brahmachari ashram first, and then after that training for so many years, then one can either move on to the grihastha ashram or stay in brahmachari. That training also helps one become a good grihastha, where they don't get, just like I was in Vrindavan one time. I was giving class in Prabhupada's study, and one lady, she came up to me. I had met her when I was there, and she was from Denmark. And she said to me, Maharaj, I got a problem. They come to the Swamis for problems. So I said, what? She said, I'm married, I have a husband, but he doesn't talk to me. He reads Chaitanya Charitamrita all the time, and all he wants me to do is cook and wash his clothes. So what am I going to say about that one? So I said, well, man, he's not suited for grihastha ashram, obviously, because you can't practice, ignoring your wife and take, my brahmacharis think, I don't really want to wash my clothes or cook, but if I get a wife, she can do it, and then I can chant Hare Krishna and do other things, That's not the idea. And then that's an offense to the ashram. So there's two types of people, or two types of mentalities that are deviations in the grihastha. too much attachment and too little attachment. There has to be a little bit of attachment there in order to carry out the affairs of Grihastha life. But if it's too much or too little, then one cannot fulfill the needs of that ashram and also make progress in Krishna consciousness. That's why training is good prior to entering into that ashram, so one can situate themselves nicely in that ashram. Question?
So I was just reading, first off, thank you for the past knowledge.
Yeah,
I was just reading that
put it up a little bit, yeah.
Okay. So if one becomes a pure devotee, then he becomes liberated and liberates the next 20 generations more. So I was wondering if you can speak to that a little bit more about how, like, if you're in a brahmachari ashram, then obviously there won't be any further generations. But in the grihastha ashram, then you're kind of liberating more souls that are in the material world.
But Prabhupada gives the clarification when he was asked that same question. He says that liberation means in their next life, they take birth in the family of devotees. Then they can practice Krishna consciousness. That's what it means. So when these statements in the Shastras sometimes require further explanations, so in that case, that's what it means.
If we're to follow the statement,
Is that okay? Yeah.
if one is to take a birth in the family of devotees,
If one is what?
well, you just said that if somebody needs to take a birth in the family of devotees, then there needs to be a family of devotees, which means somebody needs to get married.
They're in a good position to be, to reach perfection in Krishna consciousness. They're surrounded by devotional activities and personalities from their beginning of their life. So that's an advantage. That's mercy. That's special mercy to be born in a family of devotees. Even Haridas Thakur praised the Lord Chaitanya when Lord Chaitanya wanted to give him a benediction. He said, I just want to take birth in the family of devotees and get the remnants of their prasadam. Even if I become a dog in their family, still I can get the remnants of their prasadam. So take birth in the family of devotees is a very elevated birth. And it affords one easy passage towards the goal of life. If one takes advantage of it properly, of course. Is that okay? Is that okay?
There needs to be a family.
Hmm?
There needs to be a family if you want to be born into a family of devotees.
Hmm?
Correct?
I
There
can't-
needs to be a family of devotees for somebody to be born into a family of
Yeah.
devotees.
Yeah, we have so many families that are devotees. They're there. The children that are being born in our families of devotees right now are that means in their previous lives they've been practicing Krishna consciousness. So they take birth in these families and then they make progress from there. Anything else? I think we're a little bit over time. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Candramauli Maharaj ki jai.